It's time for another Dice Tower review with Tim Jennette.
Hey everybody, this is Tim Jennette, the Metal Meeple, and I'm joined with a few of my friends.
Matt Robear.
Eric Ledford.
Jeremy Hodges.
If you're not familiar, obviously I do reviews on the Dice Tower. I also contribute to Sam Healy's Throat Punch Lunch, and Matt and Eric and I also have a podcast called Meeplecore. So this is our third year doing this. Basically, we're going over our top 10 favorite games to us, just to be clear. And before we begin, though, Jeremy has some statistic questions that he wants to ask us, and this is improv right here, right?
Yeah, you guys know what's going on. So I took 2015 and 2016 top 10 videos, kind of compared them, and come up with some stats I want you guys to guess.
Oh,
so,
awesome.
Who does this apply to?
Okay.
So we'll get a start off with number one. This one I'm going to call Mr. Consistency. Who, between 2015 and 2016, had the most games that carried over?
Like, doesn't matter the order?
Doesn't matter the order, just most games that carried over.
I'm going to say me.
Okay, I'll go with Tim.
I think I did too, though. But
Oh, between me and you, what do you think?
I can't remember what it was 2 years ago. So I'll say me just because I think I didn't change a lot.
It was Tim.
Tim?
Uh-huh.
Tim had 7. You did have 6.
One for me.
Yeah.
I know what I like.
I kind of gave it away for the next question by telling you how many you had, because the next one is what I'm calling the most adventurous. Who had the least amount of games that carried over?
The least amount of games that carried over.
So it's probably between...
There you go. So he had 6 that carried over.
I'm actually going to say it's Eric.
Yeah, I'll change mine. I'm gonna go with myself.
I think it's Jeremy.
It was Eric.
No.
Damn, 2 for 2.
Yeah, Eric with 3.
0 for 2.
Oh, we should have took points.
Yeah, I'm 0 for 2.
Keep score.
I'm 2 for 2 so far.
There you go.
All right, so this one I'm going to call the Underdog Award. A little tricky. So whoever had the most games that dropped off their top 10 while a game under those stayed on.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, really? Oh, all right.
I'm going to say Matt.
Repeat it again. What was it?
So the most games that dropped off your top 10 in 2016, but a game that was under those on your top 10 stayed on. So if your number 10 stayed on, but
Your number 5 fell
your number
off.
5 fell off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying Matt.
Yeah, I think I might have had 1 or 2 of them.
I'm gonna go for my...
that.
No, I'm gonna go Matt this time.
That was me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at 5.
Wow.
All right.
That many, wow.
That's interesting, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how that. Oh, I do know how that happened, but
You played a lot of games between...
I did, and one of them I just like. I think that one's gonna stay on. All right. So number 4. I had a name for this, but I changed it. I'm gonna call this Mr. Steal Your Game. Who had the most games on their top 10 that they had in common with other people's top 10 games?
Oh, that's an interesting one.
I think Eric.
Yeah, probably Eric.
Because I think me and Eric had a lot, but I don't think I quite crossed with you two a lot.
Yeah, I'll
Eric.
go with myself.
Eric, Matt.
Really?
Nope.
There you go, Matt.
Beat it by 1. Actually combined both years for that.
Gotcha. Copycat award. Gotcha.
Fair enough.
Yep. Call it class favorite. All right. The last one we have here, this is what I call better with time. Who had a game that jumped the highest from 2015 to 2016 on their list?
I'm going to say Jeremy.
I'm gonna go with you, Jeremy.
Sure.
What you got?
Tim.
Really? Oh, what game was it?
Nations of the Dice game
Oh,
went
that's
from
right.
9 to 2.
That's true. I totally forgot about that.
That's a big
It's
of a
because
jump.
we played it like 8 times.
We played
that
it.
year.
Well, that's just
Or
the base
more.
game, and then we'll get into the rest of that in a minute.
Yeah, all right.
But no, it's interesting. Thanks for bringing that. That's very improv on the spot.
Yes.
I like it.
Not planned at all.
Yeah. First recording.
Yes.
All right, anyway, we're going to start off with our number 10, and the winner from last year who did their number 1 reveal last was Matt. So Matt's going to start us off with each number.
My number 10, oddly enough, was out before last year, but through a couple of times of playing it, just really started enjoying it more, and that is Mysterium. Oddly enough, the first time I played it, I was not a big fan of this, but going back to the whole, this is our favorite top 10 games, not necessarily our best thought top 10 games. Playing it with my family, though, became a lot more enjoyable. Playing it with these guys here became a lot more enjoyable. It was a lot of fun playing the Ghost and feeling a sense of accomplishment of leading everybody through the game and letting them, figure out all the clues and stuff. So, I mean, not much more to say about it, but it is Mysterium.
So what do you think about that? I know our second time around, we kind of like dimmed the lights and put some, haunting music on and whatnot. Did that?
Do you need the role play?
It does add. It does add. With my family, I actually brought the kids out complete seance style. We had candles.
I seen the pictures.
Yeah, it was candles lit. Lights were out. I mean, the only light we had was candles and flashlights. I did give them flashlights.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and so they had a lot of fun with it. It added, but you don't need it.
Nah, you don't need it. I do think it adds to it and makes it a little bit better. It bumps it up a little bit.
Yeah, it does add, and I will say that the kids are looking forward. They haven't got a chance yet, but they really want to play the Ghost. And I think it is that. I think they want to be able to see if they can get everybody through the whole issue that's going on. So
it is the most important, I guess, person or ghost.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
All right. So my number 10, it was actually my honorable mention last year, and it's Pandemic Legacy. We played it through last, I guess it was, 2016, but we only played the first couple months, so it was kind of like playing just regular Pandemic with a little bit of differences. But now that we've got a couple more months in, we got to open up more boxes and find out more of the game, so it rose up to number 10 for me.
I guess we can't really talk too much about this one without spoilers, but there's one thing that happened that was incredibly oh my goodness. I see that happening, but I didn't see it happen. Like, I wasn't thinking about it, and you're like, well, that makes sense. That's a good thing to put into this type of game.
Yeah.
So
all about the experience, and just don't do what we did. We actually took an entire year to play it out.
Like each month?
Well,
What?
some of the guys just couldn't play that often, and by the time we finished it, we realized it was like 13 months.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take a while for us because it's not that often in our game group that it's only the four of us that are there and that we're wanting to play it, or not just wanting to play it, but even remember to play it. So, or we have another game that we need to play, or a review game that we need to get to. So we don't get it to the table as often as we want to.
Yep. My number 10 is a new one, and that's Joraku. Joraku is it's a small little card game. It's a trick-taking card game, which is very odd for me to put this on my list in the first place. But the more we played it, the more I just thought, this is incredible. Like, I have a lot of fun with it. The not worker placement, but the area control mechanism to it, where you have to constantly move to the left, is also really fun because the biggest thing about the game is it's not about winning tricks. It's about playing the cards and trying to position your units properly, or you might want to give away tricks so that you don't accidentally score a zone that you don't want to. And then as you're playing the game, each zone or each round of the game actually changes the value of all the cards, because now you want lower value cards, but you're not going to win any tricks to actually do the scoring. So it's a very cool, like, tug of war style thing for such a small game. Have you played this one?
I have not, but I do like trick-taking games, so.
Yeah.
You'll like it. One thing I do like about this game is I've been liking a lot of games that give you a lot of game in a small box.
Yes.
And so that's a big plus for me.
It's like tiny epic trick-taking.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a tiny game. There's a lot going on in it. I'm surprised. I know you mentioned you liked it, but wow, okay, already on the list.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Have you heard of it, Jeremy?
No.
Fair enough. I'll show you it later.
Welcome again to the episode where I don't hear
Is this
about
the
half
first
these
one?
games.
Yeah. Was that
the
one of your
first one.
things? Like, who had the most games they hadn't played of the other people's?
Right?
Yeah.
That probably should
Someone
be
broke it down. It was 67% on the comments.
Was it 67?
Yes.
Nice.
Again, I normally play in a different group, and we play very different games.
That's fair.
All right, my number 10, I don't even need to look, is Forbidden Stars. This was in my list last year, And I think the thing I love most about the game is kind of the mind games that go on amongst the people. So when you're putting your orders down and you can put your orders on top, so you're trying to guess kind of what they're doing. How is it important to them that they go on top of yours or play elsewhere? So just this kind of, I can play safe or play aggressive and hope they don't punish me for it. Aspect to it, I absolutely love. And I usually don't like area control games, but this one I do.
Yeah, I want to try this out, but I'm still desperate to get StarCraft to the table before I do that. So,
Yeah, it was another game on my radar. It is a big game, but another one we haven't tried.
Oh, now it rings a bell. Yes. Okay. I was kind of lost for a second. I was like,
What game is this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Big box. Gotcha.
Box that tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big box.
Huge game.
This game actually fell a little bit from last year, but it is a game I love. You got your panda, you're farming, you're growing bamboo. It is Takenoko. My kids, it's a fun game. It comes to the table from time to time. It's a pretty simple game. Again, it's not the most involved game. It's not the best game in the world, but me and my family really enjoy it. And it is aesthetically just beautiful. The artwork, just the colors, which I usually hate pastel colors, but I like these for some reason. But yeah, it's just everything about the game. Like I've always said before, you can be walking around and someone's playing it and it just catches your eye because it just really stands out to you. So, and it's fun. Pandas. I mean, who doesn't like pandas? So
I don't like pandas.
You don't like pandas?
They're all right.
I think if I had kids like your kids' age to play it with, I'd probably enjoy it more. But it's not a game I like to play with like a bunch of adults.
Right. No. And like I said, I totally get that. It's not involved at all. It's whatever.
It's still good though.
Yeah. It's good. It's fun. Actually, you played it with my kids.
I did.
You?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to say it was really fun that time.
If you haven't played it, I have it. And come over and play it at my house.
This is an open invite to the internet.
We just need to have that as our set piece in the middle of the table. Cover up these cables here.
Yeah.
Right.
Look good.
If you had the collector's edition, maybe.
Oh, yes.
All right, so my number 9 is Patchwork. Don't like the theme as much, but the gameplay is really nice, although a little brutal at times. You can play through the game and think you're doing pretty well, but you end the game with like 5 points, so that's a little different. But it's basically playing Tetris almost. You know, you putting different pieces in your patchwork. So 2-player game, highly recommended, and yeah, my number 9.
Yeah, after we played this, I totally downloaded the digital version.
Yeah.
And
I did too.
yeah, we should.
We
I don't know why
played
we didn't figure it. But anyway, so yeah, I really liked it. It was really fun. I typically don't like to play a lot of 2-player games, so to speak, other than like,
Sure.
war games where it's like a whole army versus army. That kind of stuff I like playing, 2-player and teams. But this, if I was doing 2-player list, this would be up there pretty high.
Yeah. This is almost like a surprisingly good game. When I looked at it and kind of looked at, we're building these quilts and
Right.
looked at the,
Like I said,
the pieces. I'm like, what is this? And then when I actually played it, I'm like, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I haven't played it, so no opinion.
You need to play it.
I don't want to make quilts.
Yeah.
My number 9 is a game where you roll tons of dice, and that is, well, you don't really roll them, but it's tumbling dice. And this is a game that, for me, I could play it millions of times. I mean, every single time we play it, I don't get bored. I'm going to play it again. And it usually just comes down to time to go, the end of the night kind of deal. It's a good filler, but the only problem is it does take a little bit to set up and break down. So typically when you break it out, it's going to be a full-fledged, we're playing this game a bunch of times probably. So I really like it. This is one of the only games that I play a lot of variants with. I like to add in the handicap dice. I like to add in silly rules like, flick 2 dice at once kind of thing, or whatever the case may be. But a lot of games I stick straight to the rules, and this one I just tend to do whatever. So I really like this game.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah,
Thanks for the words of encouragement.
It procrastinated many of get-togethers, whether it be band practice or whatever we were doing. We come down, it'd be set up, and there goes 30 minutes right off the bat. It's just, let's play.
That is a game I kept set up for a while, just on the table. Just walk over to it, just play it. Mm-hmm. I'd leave pitch car like that, but it's a lot of stuff to set up.
A little bit more.
It is.
All right. Well, my number 9, falling a little bit from last year, was what I called Agricola. I put Caverna and Agricola together, different games but similar, and I like them both. So it's hard for me to separate them. A lot of people say, "Oh, once I play Caverna, I can't play Agricola again," but I can play both. I really love them. I love in Caverna the different buildings you have, that options. Agricola, I love having the cards and kind of dictating things that way. All in all, it's just, as far as strategy games go, I don't mind having to feed your people. I like kind of the engine of building up, especially as you get more people as you go along, more workers to place. It's a lot of fun for me.
It brings a funny story to mind. I was playing the family edition with my family, and I'll always remember my daughter looking at me, looking really upset, going, "I can't feed my people." So she
Take a beggar token.
she learned that lesson really early. But it's totally different though. It was just a funny story.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you end up picking up the revised edition of Agricola?
I did not know.
Okay. Yeah.
Is it worth it?
No, probably not if you already have it.
I don't think it changes that much. Most of it's
No.
cosmetic.
Most of it's card related. So
Just give me a Sharpie and I'm good.
Now that fell quite a bit, didn't it? What, was
Yeah,
it
he said it
3
went from
last
9
year?
to
It was
2?
4 last year, I
Oh,
believe.
4? Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, 4?
4.
Quite a bit.
Well, cool.
This one could shock this group. Might shock you guys, but Greenbrier, you made my list. Folklore. Came out of nowhere. I tell you what, Tim brought this to the table. I have been looking for something to kind of streamline the experience of Dungeons and Dragons with my kids, and I think this pretty much nailed it. It's you got the world battle, totally different from your typical battle, because if you remember on the old pen and paper days, a minor skirmish could take up half a session. This streamlines it down to where you get the same experience, but it takes a lot less time. It's got the story tokens. You got the big book, all these, a big, massive book of stories to play through. So I've only played it once, I will say that, but I could tell you just from that one playthrough, it jumped to number 8 on my list. So
Yeah, this is a lot of game in a box.
yes.
it's a big box.
It's a huge box with tons of stuff. And what's cool is they have so much coming out for it that, this is an experience. This is a dedicated game. You can get into it and play it for a very long time.
Right.
And also, whenever I am even making this list, there wasn't a whole lot of games this year, but what I'm looking for is I play a game and it's like, I want to play it again.
Yeah.
I have to have that. I want to play this game again because, like I said, we burned through a lot of games, a lot of one-time plays. But this one really, really caught me. So
Yeah.
I'm down with the folklore.
This is an awesome game. There was a couple of things I didn't like about it, but overall, really nice game. It did make my short list, so it was probably,
Oh, really?
Yeah. Probably like 12 or 13 for me.
Gotcha. Cool.
Cool.
Nice.
So my number 8 is Super Motherload. It's just bombing and digging your way to victory, and it has that deck building aspect to it. So just like the theme and what you're doing in the game. So yeah.
Yeah, this is a surprise, actually. I thought it was a solid game. I just feel like if I played it a lot, it would just become samey.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a game that can use a little bit more randomness, but otherwise, yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it surprised me, but
Surprise you on number 8?
yeah. It's solid. It was a decent game. Dig Duggy, obviously, but I just a little surprising.
Cool.
I liked it.
Did you
Did
play
you
it?
like? Oh, you played it.
You
Played
played
it a long
it?
time ago. Once.
This is a surprise, too.
Wow.
I just thought I've actually played.
Long time ago.
That's fair.
It came out, 2016, 17?
Yeah, I don't know. It was a
Okay.
couple years ago, though.
Gotcha.
My number 8 is a game that was on my short list last year, and I almost thought about putting it on here, and that's Champions of Midgard. And honestly, it was the expansions that threw this over the rail of the top 10 or whatever, because there's a couple of things I always kind of was like, man, I wish this was a little bit different or changed or whatever. And the fact that the expansion gives you reasons for your guys to die, or not really reasons, but things that you can do with them dying, it takes it more from being, I guess, random and maybe you just botched a roll, but now you get to spend those to do things with them, and it's a lot of cool stuff. The expansion adds a lot to the game, but it doesn't make the complexity that much more. It does add a little bit more time, but otherwise, man, it's super, super fun. You got a chance to try out the expansions yet?
I haven't done the expansion yet. I like the original game a lot, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. I guess I was not there for the expansion night, but the original's good.
That was last Friday.
Yeah,
That's right.
there's
Okay.
one play. Like I said, it was probably my
Wow, so it jumped up from last. Oh, wow.
Well, because it was always like maybe my number 11, and I was like, and then there was always that one or two games I thought I could put it in the spot, you know.
Right.
But then when we played the expansion, it's like, wow, just the Valhalla expansion with the tokens that you get when your guys die, I was just like sold.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'll add to that a little later in our episode here.
Fair enough.
There we go. All right. Let me check it again. Number 8 is Alchemist. I love kind of logic and deduction games. They're super fun to me. I love how the app integrates. It's just so much fun. And even with the expansion, now they got the golem that you can animate. There's just so much more you can do with it, so many more ways you can go with it. And there's nothing more satisfying to me than at the end of the game looking at my piece of paper and thinking, man, I got everything right on here. Or I really messed that up. I know how to do it better next time. There's actually a game where I trusted someone on one of their deductions and got my whole paper filled out, and it turned out he was gambling on it, and he didn't even know the right piece. Yeah.
That's like a red herring in that game, man. You could just go down the wrong path the rest of the game.
Yeah, I know. Well, I've done that before and won based on that, but I mean, we're like 3 turns in. I thought he had it.
That's fair. Yeah, this is a game that's it's in my top 20 for sure. Mm-hmm. And then I guess if I ever played the expansion, I might think a little bit more of it too.
Oh, I didn't know there was an expansion.
Yeah.
Is there? Okay. Yeah, it was pretty good. The learning curve on it, if I remember right, was
it's pretty deep.
Steep. Yeah, it was pretty deep. I also remembered it if you made one mistake, it really hurt you in the game.
Yeah, it could be brutal.
That's one thing I didn't quite like is like not even if you miss a whole turn, but if you miss like one thing, it like takes you out of the contention for the game.
Yeah. We spend probably like 20 minutes on figuring out how the paper works and how you mark things off, because we've had too many people that have the whole game's ruined because you have no idea they're doing it wrong the entire game.
Right.
So we literally give them a piece of paper and it's like, all right, what do you do if this is and this and this, and take a picture of everything, and they'll write it down.
Gotcha.
So we actually have them almost play like a little mini game to figure out how the ingredients go together and how they mark things off.
Huh.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, that's an easy way to hate a game. Understanding it, and then you spend 2-3 hours on that one because it's pretty heavy. So
yeah,
cool. My number 7, kind of a fall from grace, guys, but it is Sheriff of Nottingham. I don't know what it is. I'm just not feeling this one quite as much lately. We did play with the expansion. I've got issues. You can check out the podcast if you want to find out exactly what they were. There might have been some issues with the deck that we found, but whatever. But I don't know. Maybe it's just getting, wearing its time on me or something. But I still enjoy it. It is still fun to gamble, and open people's packs, see how they react, or if they're going to bribe you, or if they're bribing you to make you think they have more than what's in there. But yeah, Sheriff of Nottingham. It's good old-fashioned fun bluffing.
Yeah, it's never been on my top 10, but I still like it a whole lot.
Yeah, I'm lukewarm on it, but yeah, it's all right. It's all right game for me.
It starts the long list of Matt's lying games.
Yeah.
All right, my number 7 is Tzolk'in, the Mayan calendar. I really like the game. I like the worker placement aspect of it, where you set your workers out and they ride the gear, which I don't feel is gimmicky. Some people have said it's kind of gimmicky, but I like how you put them out there. You have them work for extended amount of time, and then you take a turn to gather your workers and do those the spots that you want them to gain resources or whatnot. So yeah. So number 7, it was on my list last year, but it rose up.
This is like my top 3 games I want to paint. Like that, and other than just miniature games, which makes sense. But
Did you say it was on your list last year?
It was not.
It was not. Okay, I was going to say it made my short list. It was probably 11, 12.
Okay, I'm going to definitely play this now because I've been wondering if it's just gimmicky with how it rotates
it's
and
good.
turns, but it's actually really good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
I don't see how it's gimmicky at all. I mean, like
it's a good game. It's not good just because of the wheels.
The turning actually integrates into the rules rather well. It's not just like for no reason.
Yeah, it's all themed too, because it goes the big wheel in the middle. It goes all the way around, and that's when the game ends.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Works out
All
really
right.
well. My number 7 is a game that was on my list last year, and it's going to stay there, but I think it might be a little lower. It's Lewis and Clark. This game, for me, the only reason it might have dropped a little bit is because I feel better at 3 players, and it gets a little long adding a 4th. But otherwise, I mean, it has some really cool stuff going on with it, where you've got the different worker placement actions, but you got like the deck building stuff going on as well. It's not, light deck building, obviously, but that's really fun. And the biggest thing is the badge system, where the people next to you are going to help you generate your tokens, because you're like, oh, I'm going to collect food. Oh man, I hope he doesn't camp before it happens. So it's just really good. I really like this. And it's funny because some games we play, I don't like the whole racing aspect of whoever gets to the finish line first. But this one, with the way the camping works and the fact that you're not truly going to end up where you're going, because you might only go 3 spaces instead of 8, I think that's really fun. It's a really good game.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I did think 4 was a little much, and that's what the first time we played was 4.
Yeah.
4 of us played it.
It goes a little long.
Yeah.
If I remember right, it might have been our first years, and I took it off last year's just for the player restriction. So,
Oh yeah.
well, not player restriction, but it is typically a 3-player game. It seems like what it plays best at.
It's perfect at 3, I think.
Right.
Kind
I
of
agree.
limits like what you can actually play on a board game group, because you don't have exactly the game's off the table.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my number 7, still staying from last year, is Stockpile. I really love, especially with expansion, where you got the different characters who have different abilities. I love having uniqueness like that, where you can kind of have a road you take. But there's just something about this game that I can't even explain it why I like it so much.
Because it's awesome.
Yeah, it is really awesome.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
just like, kind of, again, the deduction of like, selling off stocks to kind of throw people off the trail. They might sell yours based off your insider information. Just trying to buy stuff up and trying to get as cheap as you can. There's so much player interaction and all of that it makes it a lot of fun.
Honestly, I would, out of all the games that are like stock related, this one would be the only one that reaches my top 10. It's just that I feel like stock games don't do well with me, or I don't do well with stock games.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And so I have a hard time liking them more than what it is, just because I usually do not do well. I can't foresee that, getting the right stocks and selling them at the right time, which is why I don't play the stock market in general.
Yeah, don't invest.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a solid game. I enjoy it when it comes out.
Yeah, it doesn't come out quite often enough, but I highly recommend this game as well.
Money's involved. Eric likes it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's right behind you, Eric. Play it right now.
My number 6 is Survive, Escape from Atlantis. I think I got the last part right. I don't know. Survive. It's the one with the little meeples on the island that's singing out from under them. I mean, it's just, I do have the 6-player expansion. It might seem crowded, but man, it's actually a lot of fun. I haven't found a player count I don't like at this, but I've never played it with 3, and that would probably start seeming like it would be a little weird with 3. So 4, 5, 6, incredible. It is great to play with family. It's light enough for them to understand. Kids, Daddy, why did you sink my boat? Sorry, honey, it happens. I don't know. It's just a good game, and it might seem cutthroaty, but it's always in good spirits. You kind of do it with a smile, and the person you're doing it to smiles with you, so it's not quite as stabby as a lot of other games.
Because we're in this together, Matt.
We are in this together.
I don't see that as true sometimes. In our player group, sometimes people hold grudges.
Really?
No.
Yes. Okay.
But you took down my guy, I'm taking out 2 or 3 of your guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No, I ain't saying grudges aren't held, but it's not quite as serious as some other games.
Nah, I
It's
guess
still lighthearted, because it is just, you don't know what point total was under there, and most of the time the person that got hit doesn't know either. So
you're trying to guess though. You're just like, he moves it first. He really wants this guy out. It must be his 5
there is that, but once you get about midway, it's all whatever.
No, then you don't even remember what
Right.
all your
Exactly.
Yeah.
meeples are.
Yeah, good game. And especially you've had this on your list, I think, 3 years now, and it's
Yes.
gone up 1 spot. So it holds the test of time.
We got our statistics guy.
Statistic guy.
Just wait for next year.
Oh, it's going to be all.
So my number 6 is Terra Mystica. It did drop a little bit since last year. I think it was number 2. It's a great game, has a lot of replayability in it. It comes with 14 different species or peoples. So you're building like a little empire, you're building a cities, and you're expanding and terraforming. And I think there's a lot of replayability. Like I said, it comes with 14 different characters that you can play. That's not even including the expansion, which I have, but have not even got out yet because you probably don't even need it. But since it's such a good game, I got it anyway. So
yeah, I like this. I want to play it more.
Mm-hmm. Good heavy
I'm
game.
Totally game to play.
What?
I'm totally game to play. This is
an
absolutely
awesome game. Come over anytime.
Fair enough. My number 6 is a game that brings the nostalgia out, and that is Role Player. This game, I love dice, and I love the fact that you can mitigate the dice. Matt's looking at me like, what? We'll come back to this, Matt. Anyway, so Role Player is a game that, I mean, it's just, everything about it's real fun. The fact that you're drafting dice, you're pulling dice out of bags to put them on the table, that's actually fun. Not the same way that I normally like to draw things out of bags, but... And the fact that you have all these special abilities and your characters kind of create it, so you see all these little things about a D&D character, and you're playing like a mini game for character creation for Dungeons & Dragons, and we actually did that at one point, which was really fun. So, what were you saying, Matt?
The look is I should have put this on mine.
Oh, gotcha. I was like, what have I done?
That was me kicking myself. Yeah, this is an awesome game.
Yeah. Have you played this, Jeremy?
I have not. I do want to get to it, and I'm kind of curious on how the feel is. So you had Millennium Blades, which was kind of like the same feel of like opening magic cards back in the day and building decks.
We want to play that, but Matt hasn't brought it over.
So this one, has the same feel of just like character building, and I wonder if you get that kind of like same nostalgia feel for both.
I didn't get really the character building aspect of it. These guys might have, but
Well, you never played D&D.
but
really.
I don't. Yeah, I haven't really
I was
played
gonna say,
D&D.
it kind of gives you that feel.
It gives you that feel, but it makes it into a game. I mean, you're actually mitigating your dice. You have to put things in places you don't want them to be in because your character has like its stats, and you want to make sure they're within that range. But then you get like a 5, and you're like, whoa! And now I'm over. I'm blasting out that I need a 12, and I'm way higher than that now. So you're using other special abilities to re-roll that die or move it around. So some of it isn't realistic as far as character creation because it doesn't make sense that you want low numbers, but at the same time, they're making a game out of it, and it's just super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. All right. My number 6, why I didn't speak up much earlier, is also Terra Mystica. I got this one from Eric last year from your top 10 and decided to actually pick it up. Without even kind of watching anything on it based on your review.
Well, there you go.
It sounded like my kind of game, and I love it. It's in the same thing. You don't need the expansion yet. I mean, there's 14 races. I still haven't played them all.
Right.
I love with the magic how you got to like move from bowl to bowl, and there's like all the different stuff around when you can actually use it and when you can throw it away to be like clutch times that you got to get something done. It's so much fun, and a lot of times what you talking about earlier, where you got to play it like best with 3. I feel like that one scales really well. The game feels very different. It can be longer or shorter, but I think it scales really well just on how kind of tight you got to play things or how much you can just go crazy on because there's less people.
Yeah.
I played it with 2 players, 4 players, and it is good at both.
Yeah,
I believe. So.
Absolutely.
My number 5, we're going to pick up some dudes, put them in a bag, draw them out, and all that good stuff. So it's Orleans. I believe it moved up a little bit from last year. I mean, this game is phenomenal to me. It is, it's bag building. You're drawing dudes out of a bag, like I said, but it's also all this other stuff going on. You got these different tracks that might put more and different guys in your bag. Then you got your pickup board that you're running around picking up all your different spices and cheese and all this other stuff. It's just a lot going on, and it all goes together well. There's that bottom track you got to worry about with them stars. It's just a lot to keep track of, but it's not overwhelming, and it's just a lot of fun to do. So, Orleans.
Yeah, this is a short list. I mean, that's a spoiler, but man, I really thought about putting this on there. It's so much fun, and I love the bag building thing. I mean, that's just, there needs to be more games like that.
Yeah, I agree. Very good game. Also on my short list. So awesome game, awesome components. Even the one that's not the deluxeified edition.
Right.
So
Yeah, me too. Shortlist. I love just how much there is going on. I love what am I going to get, kind of pulling the guys out of the bag. You build it, but there's still that kind of variableness that makes you have to play where you're not sitting there thinking like 20 moves ahead of like, I know exactly what I have and how I got to think it out, and everybody's getting AP. Like, you got to deal with what you got.
Right.
right.
Yep.
Oh, my turn. Number 5, Adrenaline. I like the game a lot. It is a Euro style shoot 'em up, first person shooter maybe type of game. It's kind of like a Euro style because you have to take hits on certain people to garner points up. But also, it doesn't affect you so much if you die in the game. You respawn, you keep your weapons. You do go around, you pick up different weapons, and you can combo them. So, yeah.
This is one of those games where, like, back in the day, we played Frag, and I was like, this is fun.
Yeah,
but
I still don't mind Frag.
I don't mind it, but like you played so many other games, you're like, man, they could be done so well. This is how Frag. This is like Frag 2.0. I know it's a lot different, but it fixed everything about it. So good.
Do look forward to some of the expansions that are coming out where they're going to add some team play. They're going to add some more weapons. One thing I didn't like as much about it is it seems like we go through most of the weapons, so you kind of see everything every game. But I think a lot of that is going to be helped or fixed in these upcoming expansions.
Yeah.
You add random board layout, I'm sold.
Yeah, it's I'm not the biggest fan of Take That games, but this is by far probably one of my favorite Take That games.
Yeah.
I guess unless you want to consider Survive a Take That, I don't know. But I guess the biggest thing on this, though, I like that even though you get hit, it doesn't affect you hardly at all. It's not a big setback.
And it actually helps you to a certain point, too.
Right, with the track and everything, right.
Well, cool. My number 5 is Oracle of Delphi. Or Delphi? I think it's Delphi. I'm going to go with that.
Yep.
It's just so good. I mean, the fact that it has so much to consider on your turn and, between turns that, every time you move, there's an entirely new thing of actions to do, or at least like a different, outcomes that can possibly happen. The fact that you're using dice to do all your actions is awesome. And it's random, but you have so much to consider. I think if it wasn't random, you would have too much to consider. And it's definitely a race game, just like Lewis and Clark. So it's actually surprising. I guess I like race games, but racing games, I should say. But you're trying to complete all your objectives before anybody else. And the fact that you have all these cool special abilities and that you're rooting for other people outside your turn because you want them to roll the right things for your gods to move up on your track. I mean, it is so good. Have you tried this one, Jeremy?
No.
Wow.
Whoever's keeping track at home had this one.
Yeah, I'm trying not to ask every game.
Right. Just assume.
Do you think it's a good testament? Like you said, you usually don't like games where you're racing to either a certain amount of points or to get to a certain spot or whatever. So for this and another game to be in your top 10 says a lot about these games.
Oh, yeah, they're doing it right. And this one is phenomenal.
Yeah, like Jeremy said with Orleans, it's kind of a deal with what you're dealt.
Yes.
So you roll your dice and then you have to plan accordingly. So that's a fun aspect of the game.
Right, but it's not like you're limited to like 4 things. I mean, it's still a lot of consideration,
Right, yes.
but it would be too much otherwise. So
Very nice.
Yeah. Try it out, Jeremy.
I will. It's actually my number 5. No, my number 5 is Time Stories. I've said in the past before, I really love experiences in board games. I don't have to have a game that I have to play 10, 15, 20 times. I can play it once. And if I have a great experience and never play it again, I'll remember that forever. And that's what Time Stories is to me. It's experiencing something with your friends. You laugh at the stupid mistakes you made and how come you couldn't figure that out. And then you feel accomplished at the end when you get it done. And when they come out with the new stories, I kind of look forward to, what else are they going to come up with? Where else can we go? It's, there's in a sense the theme is whatever you want it to be. I mean, yeah, you're time travelers, but put it in ancient Egypt or, put it in the 20s, wherever. You can go wherever you want.
yeah, I'm looking forward to trying this out. It's just that it's hard to spend money on something you're only going to play like one time. Oh, I mean, other than buying the expansions, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been keeping up with all the expansions, I assume?
I've played 2 so far.
Okay.
I have the other expansions. The guys I was playing with haven't shown up in a while.
Gotcha.
So I've been waiting on them, but I might drop them for someone else. if they
New
don't come
group
soon.
time.
Yeah.
Bring it over.
You guys
exactly.
can play with me.
My number 4, I feel like is kind of a little odd pick, but I really love this game. It is Lords of Zidit. You get some programming going on, run around, pick up some farmers and wizards or whatever. It's essentially a pick up and deliver game. You pick your guys up to defeat certain monsters, this and that. Not much else to say about it. I mean, but the scoring. I forgot the scoring. That's actually what I love about the game is the different scoring. You might be doing good in one aspect of it, but you have to be doing in the next one to continue on to the very end. I love that scoring system in this game. And like I said, it's pick up and deliver. Little fiddly with all the different guys, but I kind of overlooked that just from everything else that's going on.
Yeah, this is a fantastic game.
Yeah, I like it a lot, except those times where someone beats you to your objective, and then your turn is wasted.
Yeah, that was my entire first experience when I played with you guys, where I was still figuring it out, and someone always got there one turn ahead of me.
One step ahead of you.
And, it's like you really gotta. I mean, you can try to play hard like that and chance it, or you can go the safer route. Kind of push your luck when a lot of people are around, going for the big stuff.
Yeah.
So there is that aspect of it, but other than that, I mean, even then, I was like, okay, I know what I did wrong. I want to play again.
Yeah, I like the programming, and then the fact that you're not programming tons of moves ahead of time. I mean, it's like 4 things, and a lot can happen, but it doesn't like destroy everything you're trying to do. Like if you mess up on the first thing, well, I guess you probably can. Now think about that,
Right.
but it's not as bad. Some programming games you're doing like 10 turns of things, and you mess up on or get distracted or moved out of place or whatever on like number 2, and then. It's just a whole wasted turn.
Right.
Yeah.
And, going on that, though, it might just be sometimes you just might not get the person you wanted.
Right.
You will get something, but if you were including that person on what you were going to go over here and beat this monster with, then that might have just messed you up.
But that's part of the gambling.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Also recommended. But I also was going to add, unlike some other games, on this game, if you end up losing a turn, it doesn't really affect you as much. It's not going to take you out of the game. It's going to happen to other people.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, my number 4 is Marco Polo. It was actually my number 4 last year. Again, like it a lot. It has great superpowers. Everybody has their own power that they have that everybody's envious of.
Yes.
So I do like games where you roll a lot of dice and you get to use them as workers per se and put them out. I think it has a lot of replayability and overall a great game. Has lots. You do a lot in the game.
Yep, definitely a short list for me. I pretty much did a top 20 and then shuffled things around.
Gotcha.
So I got what's in my other 10.
Yeah,
and that was in there.
I like this a lot when we played it, so
Yeah.
hopefully it comes to the table, another time or two. So.
Oh, it will, yeah.
I love games that use dice, but not necessarily in such a way that the randomness can really mess you over. So, and this is one of those games where it's like there's randomness with the dice rolling, but you're still doing things with it. It's not like you're just like, oh, you rolled a 6, I rolled a 2.
Well, I get better options than you. But also in this game where it kind of counteracts rolling too low. I think if you roll under 11 or something, you get some perks as well.
Right, yeah. Well, cool. My number 4 is returned from last year, and that's the World of Warcraft board game. The coolest thing about this is that, I won't talk too long because obviously this is like the 3rd year in a row, but it's an RPG experience, an MMO RPG experience in a box. You can, with the expansions, you can raid dungeons, you develop your character, you can choose. The fact that you can take a paladin and make him into a healer or an actual damage dealer, you have so many options with this that the replay of it's just massive. And also with the expansions, the equipment in the game, there's so much of it. I love games where it's like there's a huge deck of weapons and a huge deck of items for the marketplace. It would be very rough or hard to play this enough times to see all that equipment over and over and over again. It's fantastic. I know a lot of people don't like it because it's super random. But like what you're doing in the game is very thematic to the experience of World of Warcraft. It's very authentic, and I think that's what I like about it the most.
Yeah, and you feel really engaged the entire time you're playing the game.
No,
Like,
you're playing 8 hours, and it only feels like 4 or 5.
You don't look at the clock. You're not sitting
Yeah.
there waiting for your turn. And if it's not your turn, you're planning things out. Your brain's working the entire time. It's one aspect I love about board games nowadays that I see is I kind of hate the long downtimes where you're kind of waiting for your turn.
Right.
So any game that can take the downtime and make you still engaged in the game is just very top tier.
Right.
Yeah, there's not much downtime in this. I mean, there is, but there isn't. I mean, the other team will take, 20 minutes to do their turn sometimes, but it takes you 20 minutes to properly plan out what your guys are going to do, and I think that's really cool.
Right.
Yeah. Very nice. Well, my number 4, this is a new game on the list here, and it's really high up. Hopefully you guys played it. My number 4...
Remember this for the stats for next year.
It's going to be on the stats. Is Viticulture.
Oh, yeah.
This game, we've played it dozens of times now. It gets on the table all the time. I love the aspect of you're making wines and aging wines and how you do things that kind of carry on as you go. Fulfilling orders, especially with the expansion. There's so much more you can do, and just the theme of it is nice. The strategy behind it is nice. It's all around. It's a game that I would want to play every time they put it on the table. I'd never say no.
This was so close to being in my top 10. It's not even funny.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the Essentials. Are you talking about the Essentials edition or like the base edition with the actual expansion?
The actual expansion.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's superb.
Yes, I also recommend this one a lot as well. Also on the short list, it does get you in the theme of things, and you don't feel like you're actually making the wine, but you feel that theme, and what you're doing makes sense. So
Yeah.
It's got the whole vineyard feel of it.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, it kind of feels like you have a vineyard and you're doing all the processes that it takes to create wine. And this shortlisted for me also. So
Fair enough.
I've yet to play it while drinking wine, so I need to add that to my list.
Yeah.
my number 3 is Medieval Academy. I love some drafting. That's a lot of fun. Then you got all these different tracks that you are, drafting with the anticipation of what you think other people might be drafting. Then it just the way it all plays out. It is a fairly simple game. Again, most of the list, I'll just reiterate, is things I enjoy playing with my family. So this is something my kids can pick up, grasp, and we can all sit down and play together, and they have fun with it. It's fun, if we want to fight the dragon. It also kind of teaches them how to balance stuff out because there is a few negative tracks that they got to kind of keep an eye on. They can't just always go after the good points. They have to be mindful that there is this thing over here that hurts really bad. So don't come in last on it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like this game.
Yeah,
It's
I like
really
this
fun.
game a lot as well. Mm-hmm. It was a good pick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very nice pick. And I love how a lot of games have to do with playing with your family.
Yeah.
As we talked earlier, there's just so much more enjoyment that comes with games where the people around you love it. And my brother has lots of games like that, where it's games he wouldn't, bring out
It's
and play
not
with the
top-
fellas.
Right.
But when he's around the family, which he's around his family all the time, you live with them. And he's
Right.
got these games that he absolutely loves and builds relationships with the family.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what you reiterated earlier. Sorry. Saying that you enjoy the games that the people that you play with enjoy. So it makes you enjoy it, even that much more.
Yeah, and
so.
the games that I haven't mentioned with family also involves these guys here too, because they are my main game group, and I have to enjoy the game with them also. So it's kind of these guys and my family.
He said have to.
It's required.
All right. So my number 3 is Tichu. It actually rose from last year. It's a 4-player. It's not actually even a 4-player game, but most people play it 4 players. You can, I think, play it with different player counts. But it's a great game. It's a partnership game, ladder climbing, trick taking, a lot of elements in the game. It only has 4 special cards. So yeah, great game. If you haven't tried it out, definitely recommend it. It's cheap. It's like $10.
Yeah, I mean this is a game you sit down and play for a couple hours too. It's not that it's like a couple hours long, but you play it over and over and over, and it's
Get a
one of
couple
those-
games in a session.
Yeah,
Right. You play a lot of.
I like
you
it.
usually play until like 1,000 points. So Each round you can typically make up to 100 points, unless you're going like Tichu or Grand Tichu.
Yeah.
So you're playing many rounds of the game, and you have the same partner, and you're kind of working with each other. You're not really allowed to talk in the game, so you have to kind of read each other, and the more you play with each other, the better the game gets.
Agreed. Yeah.
Eric loves some Tichu.
Yeah.
All right, my number 3 is a game that is just massive in scale, even though you all think something different. It's Mage Wars Arena. The fact that this game takes up a whole table, you can spend an entire afternoon just building your spell books. Just everything that happens is super cool. And the fact that when you're playing somebody, you're like, I wonder what this spell would actually do. It actually it feels like you're actually a mage casting spells, and things react and have an effect of what it would do if it was in real life. You shoot a fireball, it's obviously going to hit an area and splash damage. You can force push people against walls. It's just the theme and everything that's going on is super cool. And I really like it. And especially since we played team battles, it is it is just blow my mind. It's so good. It's really hard to get to the table, especially if you don't have a group that is invested in it. With us, it's just me, and then I have to provide everything, but I'm cool with that. It is just super good.
You played this, Jeremy?
I have played it. Sorry, I didn't actually.
Oh, really?
That's fine.
I think the word you came, which is what it is for me, is investiture. Like, you have to invest in this game. Like, you really got to know the cards and stuff. I like having a box, open it up, and everything being in front of me.
That's fair.
And knowing it, and so that experience is there. It's why, I haven't played Magic in a number of years, is because keeping up with it, as I get busier, as I get older, I just don't enjoy keeping up with it as much with all the new stuff comes out. I just wanted to open the box, see what's in there.
What about all that Netrunner we bought?
Oh yeah,
I haven't played it since I bought it.
Yeah, I agree. That's
cheap. That's why I bought it.
Yeah, that's the problem with a lot of these games for me, like Netrunner and Mage Wars. You have to go in and make your decks and tweak them, and I do enjoy the game. I just don't enjoy the aspect of going in there and changing out things. Although in this game you can make a spell book and always play with that same spell book. You don't have to go back and tweak it all the time.
I just made them to where they're pretty balanced across the board. Most of them are just the base ones anyway.
Right, and I do agree with these guys, but if you've got a buddy that is just going to pre-make them and bring them, and it takes a little bit to learn the game, but like you said, man, it's like it's got a ton of keywords, but when you are told what the keyword does, it's like, makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah, okay, it makes sense. Yeah, it's doing what it says. Okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I do like the aspect you get an actual spell book that you're flipping through.
That is cool.
It is pretty cool.
Very cool.
So,
Yep.
All right. My number 3 is Pandemic Legacy. Just ordered season 2. That is at the house now. We haven't started yet. I love this game. Again, I like experiences, and this is an experience and a half. Just being able to open the boxes, like see what new happens. You don't know what's going to happen. Changing the world forever. I remember stories from the last game we played, which, even going back over a year ago from when we first started. And so I love the experience. I've even actually bought season 1 again, and we're going to play it again before we play season 2.
Wow.
Because I enjoyed it that much.
are you gonna play it with the same people, or are you gonna play it with a different group?
No, a different group.
Okay, yeah, that
Remember, it
makes
took
sense.
us 14 months to play it. I'm going up a month every time I say it.
That's fair. Yeah, I really enjoy this.
Yeah. We're still, I don't know, we might be like halfway now, I think.
Yeah.
So
It's hard to get excited and say things about it because I don't want to spoil it, but I
Right.
guess at some point the whatever the statue of
It is funny because we've all seen videos of other people talking about it. It's the same thing. It's like
no one wants to say anything, but everybody wants to say stuff.
yeah, exactly. It's like it's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
go play it.
just leave it there. Go play it. Yeah. My number 2 is One Night Ultimate Werewolf. Social, lying, all that good stuff. It's in this. Different characters. Also, again, it's easy enough to pull out with the family or people that aren't really gamers. Your typical non-gamers of, quote unquote, what we say, can pick this game up and they'll figure it out after they get that deer in headlights look. But once you play it once, they got it, and then they're good to go from there on out. And then they just delve on in and get the full experience out of it. So One Night Ultimate Werewolf. That's
I like
probably coming up later on some
I like
of
your
those lists.
pick.
Yeah, this is definitely kind of like the tumbling dice scenario I was saying, where like you sit down to play it, but you want to play it 50 times in a row.
Yep.
A row. It made more sense when it was tumbling dice in a row. Anyway, that was a bad joke.
Yeah. So I like the game length is only like 10 minutes. So a lot of times when we get it to the table, we'll play it over and over and over again. So it turns it's a 10-minute game, but we play it 10 or 20 times.
For
we'll
2
play
hours.
it for a couple hours, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love this game. It's I think we talked about last year. You can't bring it out right away because then you're not going to play anything else.
Right.
It's got to be the last thing you play for sure.
That's what we do.
Yep.
All right, so my number 2 is Mansions of Madness, 2nd edition. I think it's an awesome game. It's very immersive. It uses the app well, which I typically a lot of times don't like app games as much. But in this game, it does add a lot to it. You do have to read a lot and storytell a little bit in the game, which some people might not like, but I did enjoy it, and I did like the stories that it brought out. It lets you have different decisions in the game. You can take some more time to do this, or you can rush through and go to that objective in the game. One thing I didn't like as much is the bases of the models. They're not good at all. So other than that, that's a component issue. But the game itself, awesome game. I know you guys might have not tried it just yet, but
we haven't tried it. But honestly, the reason I like the first edition the as much as I do is because it is a one versus all, and the fact that they took that out. I'm not jumping over things to get to this game. So,
sure.
Although I do want to try it out. I'm sure it is fun, but the main reason I bought the first one was specifically because it was a one versus all game.
And Tim likes being the one.
The one.
You are the one.
There's so much that goes into having a person versus an app there too, because when you're playing against the game's only going to do so much before you know what it's going to do. But when you're playing against a person, you have no idea what they're going to do. So I do like that aspect up, but the app could be nice because a lot of times in our game groups it gets kind of weird when you have a one versus all, because it's like you got this camaraderie of like 3 or 4 guys against this one guy. And so he's got like all this pressure on him. And when he wins, he's just ecstatic. And when everybody else is dejected. And it's kind of like they're ganging up on you. So like you want to get so happy when you win.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, the reason I do want to play this one though is because of the surprises. There are some surprises in the first edition if you're the players, not the actual boss or the keeper or whatever it's called. And this one seems like it just has surprises that would pop up. You're like, oh, that's cool, So
I will say, I'm not sure if it's in every scenario, but there are secondary objectives that you're not allowed to, tell other players. So there's
cool.
some of that as well.
Nice. Well, my number 2 is Nations, the dice game.
There it is.
And I'm going to add in the Nations, the board game, because it pretty much is the same game. Matt said it best last year. He said that if you wanted a game that was shorter and a well-implemented dice version of it, the dice game is what this is. So, it's a civilization game, but it's pretty much not. It's civilization themed, but you're really just collecting tiles and building this engine. And the fact that it is in the dice game that it's so quick. People don't believe me when I say it's 45 minutes and then we play it and it's 45 minutes. They're like, wow. Typically, they don't believe me when I say a time frame for a game, but that's okay. In this case, it's accurate. And, I always wanted to play a game or play Nations with more expansions and things like that. And that's why I also included the board game, because it doesn't mean that the board game is always going to be, the game I play out of the two. I would say the dice game I like better, but they're so similar that I'm adding both of them.
Very nice. No, I like this game a lot. We need to play it again. I don't think we've played since Dice Tower 2015.
It's been a while. Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah, you pretty much said everything I would say. So
Yeah.
I stole some of it that you did say, but
pretty good game. One thing I would say I didn't like about it as much is I kind of try to go against the grain and be like, all right, artifacts seem pretty good thing to go for in the game. I'm going to try not to do artifacts and to go to other stuff.
Oh,
But,
you mean the Wonders?
the Wonders, sorry. Yeah. So I think that the Wonder track, or not the track, but going after the Wonders is kind of needed. So
It's
it detracts a
definitely
little bit from me, but
Easier strategy probably sometimes.
sure.
But prepared, I got the expansion now, even though we did play test it. So we've played it quite a bit already. So
Very nice. All right. Well, my number 2, back from last year, is Mage Knight. I love the epic feel of this game, the long build up as you're building your deck, and then you're taking on more and more and more until you fight a big city or a big bad guy with all his dudes coming at you. There's every time we play the game, and you get the last battle for the city, you take 30 or 40 minutes for a turn. It's just all that build up to it and what you've done to get there. Just feels so accomplishing, and having your friends to be there and just like, oh, did you see me wipe out all those guys? Look at this awesome combo I got. I always get so much fun out of it. And since there are multiple scenarios, as you get bored with one, you go on to another, have more fun with it.
yeah, I honestly, if I didn't have the World of Warcraft board game on here, Mage Knight would probably be in its spot. The only reason I chose World of Warcraft, and I try to vary my list a little bit. The reason I chose World of Warcraft though over this is just because we played WoW so much, and the fact that it does replicate an MMO experience, and that's one of my favorite types of games. This is obviously a better game as far as design, but at the same time, I love what you're doing in Warcraft, even though you do some of it in Mage Knight. And man, you're right. The absoluteness of your turn is crazy.
Yeah, like everything's down to the wire.
Yeah. You're like, I'm going to plan this out like a calculus problem.
Yeah, I remember Tim brought it to the table, and I finally got a chance to play this, and I can't remember the exact comment, but I remember just sitting there looking at it's only 5 cards, but man, there's so many options.
Yeah.
It's pretty much every combination for 5 cards. You gotta sit there and move them around, like you said. It's like a big math problem.
Yeah.
To see what you can, get the best gain out of it.
Yeah, awesome game. The time that it takes to play the game detracts from it from a little bit, but overall, awesome play of a game.
Yeah, I usually only play 2 players. It's hard for me to do 3. I have done a 5-player game though.
A 5-player. Wow.
It took all day.
Let's stay away from that.
Yeah.
We actually had 2 5-player games going on at the same time, and we competed for points.
Oh,
Dedication.
Yes.
that would be awesome. Oh, just going back on that really, really quick. What was your times on that 5-player game? Do you remember?
I think it was like 8 hours.
Okay.
8.5. I think one was 8, one was 8.5. They're pretty close.
Oh,
Wow.
Awesome.
And they're like almost everybody besides me and one other guy were all new too. So
Oh, really? Okay.
Wow.
So a second playthrough, you might be able to
Little
trim
faster.
that down.
Yeah.
Right.
So one thing that we like to do on our top 10 list is have an honorable mention. And, usually it's an honorable mention because it's not something that would be on your list, even in your top 20, 30, whatever. Maybe it would some way, but I don't know. Usually it's going to be something that was like a childhood memory that it's not a good game now, or if it's some game that you wanted to like, but you didn't, whatever. So honorable mention is kind of up in the air on how people want to interpret it, but typically it's not something that's going to be in your top 10 or 20 list. So we're going to start with Matt. What's your honorable mention for this one?
Everybody knows it. It ain't going anywhere. It'll stay forever. It's Warcraft anything. I even thought really hard about changing this, and I just couldn't do it. It was just from all the time I put into the WoW TCG, the minis, the minis at least was phenomenal. TCGs, whatever, but it was still fun just because it was thematic. It was a theme I liked. I even liked the Warcraft Monopoly. Slay me if you want, but it was still fun to see a different board and what everything was. But yeah, it's Warcraft, whatever.
Yeah, I agree. I had the WoW TCG on mine for a little, or not WoW TCG, but the WoW Minis game, and dropped it down to honorable mention. And that I finally dropped it off because obviously it's a game that I'm not playing anymore and I would love for it to come back, but it's just not coming back. So it went to honorable mention.
And Matt's going to talk about Warcraft, and I can use it. Use that time to talk about it.
Right.
I'll just plug it in there, right? Yeah. What about you, Eric?
All right, so mine is it's Champions of Midgard with the expansions Valhalla and the Dark Mountain. the reason I didn't, the reason I put it here actually is because for the base game for me was all right. You know, it was an okay game, but it wouldn't make like my top 10 or 20 probably. But adding the expansions did bump it up quite a lot. Like you said, it gave you benefits for your guy dying or your dice dying. So it just added a lot to the game. So I liked it a lot better.
Agreed. My honorable mention for this one is a game that I constantly want to put on my list, but then there's one thing that drops it off, and it's just irritating, but I feel like it's worthy of an honorable mention, and that's Spartacus by Gale Force 9. This game is incredible on what you're doing all the way up until the end, when it becomes this munchkin thing where, one person hits level 10 and they just start slapping a pile of cards on you, and it just gets irritating because I want to like it a lot more than that, but the ending just drives it so far down to me. But I'll still play it over and over and over. It's not going to be on the list.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. And it's too, like, if you play the full game, it can feel a little long.
If you play the full game, we always usually start at like 3 or something.
Yeah,
Influence.
I think we always do 4.
Yeah. Or maybe it's 4.
Yeah, I think it's 1 and 4. But yeah, the full game, we played it once. It's just, we were done halfway through. It drags, because it's such a difference between when you first start playing, where it's just kind of slow going, nothing going on, and then just like the craziness of what you can do at the end because you got so much power.
Yeah, agreed. What's your honorable mention, Jeremy?
All right, my honorable mention, I did not follow any of the rules that you laid out on this. I kind of went with Eric, I guess, a little, but last year I kind of did the same way with Mechs vs. Minions, where I was like, okay, I just played this like 2 days before we filmed. I was like, I like it, but I don't know if it'll stand the test of time. So same thing here. So we just played Terraforming Mars, which is really, really good. But because there's so much to it, I want to give it a lot of playthroughs before I determine if I like it.
That's fair. It's got to solidify that space in your list, huh?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Because it's one of those games where I can see there's a possibility if I play through it a lot that I might go, okay, maybe not as much. But it also has the potential of being super awesome every time I play through it.
That's fair.
Awesome.
Well, cool. So to determine this top 10 list on who's going to reveal their number ones, we're going to play a small game of Tumblin' Dice.
Let's do it.
Yes.
So last year, the order to reveal their number ones was Eric, Tim, Jeremy, and Matt. We're going to play one round of Tumbling Dice, and in the same order that we revealed last year, and that's going to determine this year's order. We're going to start with Eric. Do it, Eric.
Doing it. I'm on board.
Starting off good.
Right.
Lucky six.
Oh, man.
What?
Not good. Take your dice off.
You don't leave it on the 0?
Not on the 0. Eric's consistent. We should have practiced before we did this.
Yeah. Actually, that was very much more points. Jeremy's going first.
Oh, get off me!
Oh! You're right. You too.
Eric's trying to pull some trickery.
Oh. Damn. What? You gave him the win.
No.
There we go. So it's going to be Matt, Jeremy, Eric, Tim. And there we go. We played a small game. We played a small game. Actually, everybody's laughing because we recorded it before we even did this. So, whatever.
It made me choke.
Yeah, so we just did one round. We didn't want to make it super long or anything. And so, as I said earlier, it's Matt, Jeremy, Eric, and then it ends with me. So starting with you, Matt, what is your number one? Drum roll, please.
My number one. I thought really hard about dropping this off because I think it's been 2 years since I played it. But it's remaining. It is Shadows over Camelot. When I sat down and started actually thinking about it, there's so much about this game that I like. You got like these little mini poker hand number things that you're doing. You got some catapults you got to worry about. All these different quest tracks. So many tracks to worry about. The possibility of a traitor, Tim. And it's just, like I said, I tried to get this off my list, and I just couldn't do it. And it stayed at number one. So it is Shadows over Camelot.
Well, that's how you know it stands the test of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't played it in 2 years and still love it, it's...
Yeah. Great game.
Love the thought of it.
Yeah,
I mean,
You look forward to the next
Yes.
time, whenever that might be.
right.
Yeah, I really like this. And when I was talking about earlier, my top games to paint, this is probably one of the ones I would paint.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of miniature games I have, or games with miniatures, that's like, we played it once, we played it twice, we played it a couple more times, and it's like, okay, we're done with that. I can see me getting this out quite a bit. And I forgot that you weren't here the last couple of times we played it.
The last time, I think you played it at Eric's. I think you had a group over there, maybe.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Very
So
nice.
my number one has been said before is One Night Werewolf. It was my number one last year as well. I think it was number one the year before last as well. So it's continuing to be my number one. Overall, great game. Like you said, you can do up to 10 people. You can do a smaller group, new players. After the first game, they catch on pretty quickly. And overall, great game. So.
Fair enough. Well, both of y'all have this on your list. Let me ask you this. What about the expansions and stuff? Would you ever consider them? Or they're not really expansions, they're standalones. Would they ever take number one, or you just kind of combine it all together?
No, I've played some of the expansions, and you can switch out characters, but overall the best one for me has been One Night Werewolf. The others add to it, maybe longevity of the game, perhaps. But just the base game of this is fine.
That's actually all I've played, so that's what
fair.
I'm going with.
There's
Have
a
you
couple of
played
Daybreak characters that I would add in.
Yeah.
But
And then we have Vampire, and it was okay. So
Eric is so excited about this game, he took my spot.
yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's your turn.
No.
now.
Oh, because we were
more
used to
epic.
going around. Right.
I know.
we totally messed up the order, and that
Yeah.
was probably me because I kind of signaled.
Yeah, you said Eric.
Yeah, 10 rounds in a circle. It's muscle memory at that point.
That's fair enough. Go ahead. Actually, you know what? I'm going to let Jeremy go last only because of this. My number one is War Machine. And the only reason I'm doing this right now is because three of us have the same number one. So we're going to see if Jeremy breaks this mold. War Machine is definitely my favorite game. Obviously, I would say Nations and Nations the Dice game is my favorite board game if you're going to go that route. But my favorite game overall is War Machine. I mean, I've been a player since 2003, and I owned so many models. This game is so phenomenal. It's got that, I love miniature games where the movement and the precision of what you're doing, like like where your guy is standing, if you're a half inch off, it can really mess up the opponent. That kind of stuff is just phenomenal to me. It just mind blowing the amount of strategies that you can apply to this game, and the fact that it's a hobby game. That's kind of rough nowadays, but I love painting miniatures and everything, and this is just by far my favorite miniature game and favorite game overall. So it's staying back in number one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, wasn't the first 13 times you went to Gen Con for this only? You never played board games?
Well, no, that's more Matt with WoW TCG, but
Okay.
I did go many years in a row where all I did was play. I would dedicate a day and possibly a second day to playing War Machine specifically.
Yeah.
It made them easy to find.
That's
Sure,
true.
you knew exactly where he was.
I'm in this 20-foot radius right here. So, all right, Jeremy, are you going to break your number one?
Are we going to break the number one? What do you guys think?
I think he's going to, but I forgot what your number one is last year, so I'm just gambling at this point.
Yeah, Eric?
I'm going to go with yes. You're gonna break the mold.
Okay, man.
I can't remember what game was your number one, but I know one you left off. So let's see if this is it.
Okay, my number one is Cosmic Encounter.
Oh, no. Okay, so we're all the same, aren't we?
You are all the same. So for 3 years running now, Cosmic Encounter. I love the variability of the game. There's already more aliens out. Every game is different because of all the aliens that you have. Everybody's involved when you're inviting people in, even when you're not invited in. Sometimes you have cards that can mess people up. I just love the social aspect of this game. And like we talked about before, all my friends love this game. We can throw this on the table and everybody wants to play. We introduce new people to it. We, of course, don't put all the expansion stuff in when we introduce them because we don't overwhelm them. But they love it when they play it. Really easy to just kind of have fun and, get into your aliens sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is probably a game we should bust out more.
Well, that's what I was going to say. With more than the plays that we've played, I think it would creep up on my list even more. But we just haven't got it to the table as often, and there's so much to see in this game that we haven't experienced enough for me to bump it up higher than it is for me.
What's your lowest player count? Like, if you go too low, you're like, okay, let's just play something else.
We generally don't play less than 5. So we usually play 5 to 8, which, of course, for us is no problem. You guys usually have smaller groups. I mean, I think I've talked before. We've had groups up over like 18 people at my house. Now, it's generally not like that anymore. Mostly we'll be in like the 4 to 8 range. But most Saturdays we'll have at least 5 people.
Do you think more the merrier?
5 to 6 probably best. I mean, I like it anyway. 5 to 8. Although we have played a couple 8-player games where the last person didn't even get a turn.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, somebody won before it got to their turn.
All right.
Fair enough. Well, that's it, right? That's our top 10 favorite games.
Yes.
Take that into consideration when you comment below. Obviously, last year, people kind of thought our lists were kind of silly, but you got to remember, these are our favorite games that we like to play. Not necessarily the best games, not necessarily the top 10 on Board Game Geek or anything, but they're definitely games that mean a lot to us for various reasons, and we put a lot of thought into what we like as a game and why it would be on our list. So if you're interested and you like this format that we have here, please check out the Meeple Core podcast. This is pretty much, the 3 co-hosts or the host here. And this is what we do, not just top 10 lists, but we do other things as well. Check out my reviews on the Dice Tower and check out, Throat Punch Lunch. And Jeremy's got to get into the media game soon, right?
I have ideas.
Yes, ideas. Well, anyway, that's pretty much it, right?
That's it.
All right, well, cool. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, keep on rocking and rolling dice.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.